What's up, everybody? It's Make It Make Sense. It has been a hell of a day. Like the video's intro plays, we got a lot to get into.
I was listening to Make It Make Sense. Shout out to Make It Make Sense.
It makes sense.
Make it make sense to me intellectually.
It makes sense.
Make it make sense. You know what I'm saying?
Big moves.
Surfer.
Make it make sense. Tell me how you squeeze it. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things that you say. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things in your dream. Hey, let me work out all the things in between. Make it make sense. Tell me how you squeeze it. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things that you say. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things in your dream. Hey, let me work out all the things in between. Make it make sense.
You got pretty legs, man.
Oh man.
And they lanolated.
Man, listen,
I mean,
I'm back working out.
You put shea butter, jerky.
Oh, you see that?
Okay, so part one of this video should be out probably by the morning, hopefully. Okay, I wanted to point out that while I'm in the courtroom, there is a woman shaking her head through Jane's testimony. And I'm not gonna lie, y'all, it was low-key really pissing me off. She seemed like a nice enough lady. The problem was she was young. She was probably, or in her life, probably the polar opposite of Jane. And when she's listening to the testimony, it's not the testimony where Jane is contradicting herself or anything like that. Literally, she's shaking her head every time that something is being said that is sexual in nature. You're in the wrong courtroom for this. I felt like the judgment and the criticism was way too harsh. People are innately sexual. Everybody is not going to understand, you know, I'm trying not to get demonetized. Everybody's not going to understand what it means to, you know, run a train or be into that, to be, I'm trying to, everybody's not going to get it. But what scares me is the merits of the case are not going to be at the forefront of some of the jurors' minds. The sexual nature of these people's private lives are. And that makes me worry. That literally makes me worry. So every time something sexual was being said, this woman next to me and her friend were shaking their heads. And it was just kind of like, in addition to that, I got there late. People are bringing their children to this court case. Like, literally, people are bringing their children to this court case. And I'm like, 2 minutes in, we're going to be talking about body fluids, sending tampon pictures to your partner. It's a lot. It's probably just me. I can't say it enough. Some people are virgins. Some people are practical virgins. Some people delete their wholeness. You get it's a mixed bag. But I think people are more judgmental than they let on. And when Jane is testifying, you can see it in some of their faces, which was why I think that juror number 6, whoever juror number 6 is, might be in trouble. Not be in trouble, but, you know, they might be set free to go on about their lives. I can't tell you or anybody else what to deem appropriate, but what I can say is in this case, the sexual things that were consensual, you're just sitting in on the wrong case if you don't want to hear about baby batter or backdoor action or, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's a lot of law clerks, a lot of like sometimes I feel like it might be like seniors in high school even. They're coming, they're sitting, they pile into the courtroom for an hour or two till they get bored. If some of the jurors are virgins, then this is going to be a problem. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah. So basically, Jane says that there was a mild flirtation between her and the rapper that she went on the trip with for the birthday. So at some point, while they are watching Antoine have sex with some random woman, Jane decides to flash her breasts. Now, again, I can see Diddy's face. And literally, while this story is being told, Diddy is looking down. Now, a lot of times, Diddy is looking directly at her. Now he's looking down. So when she is saying stuff that kind of feeds his ego, then all of a sudden he's tapping his legs. He's looking up. It's the full B cup just sitting up. He's looking around to see that this beautiful woman is talking about like bathing him and stuff. But when she has, dipped her toe into another couple's pond, then all of a sudden his head is down. He doesn't like that. He is still impacted and affected by some of these things. He got a full B cup. He didn't put on some jail weight. So the rapper told you he had always had a crush on you. She says yes. Then you didn't testify that on the direct. She says no. So then there's a text between Jane and Cabral. It says, "Merry Christmas to you and yours." He responds, "To you too, my love. Meant to send this yesterday. I'm in your city, beautiful." She says, "I'm pretty tied up with work and family." So the defense is showing this, but in reality, this really works for the prosecution because Jane has been very upfront about saying she was nice. She played into the fantasy, but outside of being with Diddy, she really didn't want any parts of the escorts. So I think that played well for the prosecution. Back to Vegas. Did you bring up Cabral? She says yes. Asked if the couple had asked Jane if she knew anyone else in the lifestyle. So she told them yes. I chose Cabral because at the time I thought he was private. So that was interesting to me. Because how do these people know that you are in the lifestyle? So although the last question I think was effective for the prosecution, this question was this played well for the defense. You're not stating everything that's gone on. And these people know that you are in that lifestyle, but that's technically not the lifestyle that you want to be in because you want one lover. Yeah. Let me see. So then she pressed her on it. She said, "Why would they ask you specifically if you knew anyone in that lifestyle?" She says, "Maybe they had a feeling, or maybe they knew what me and Sean have been doing." So we're back to Diddy having a dream about her on the Concorde. She says she flew to Miami to be with him around that time of her birthday. Did you know there was a media firestorm that had intensified even more around this time? She says yes. Was KK there? She says no. At any point, she says no. So for your birthday, he set up a walkway from 1 star to 2 stars. She says yes. Can you describe it? And she was like, "It was beautiful. It was such a nice moment. It was on the water." And I was like, okay, yeah, fluff. And then I put again, the girl next to me is continuously shaking her head. Let me see. She said, "My heart was beating fast as I walked to the other house, and so was his. There was a round table with all kinds of gifts. Everything was in pink and silver, and there was a 5-course meal. This was my love language." Now, this is her lighting up. You will see why in a minute she's not so light. You will see why in a minute she's not so light. I also put, is she still trying to link with him if he gets out? Because the way that she lit up, y'all. I don't know how else to say it. She was very different when describing him giving her these things. It almost felt like she might link back up with him, like she's still in that hamster wheel with him. Did he give you a pill? She says yes. Then Dawn comes over and she says yes. You said you were willing to have sex with Dawn because Sean provided everything you wanted. She says yes, but it was like begrudgingly. You can tell she's slowly starting to get annoyed with her again. You could tell. But nothing is more funny than watching Comey get annoyed hearing these questions. Like, Comey is over it. I want to know what happened at the beginning of the court where we missed an hour and a half of court, because both Comey and Tinney came out evil. They were mad as hell. There's another text chain. It's between Paul, Arthur, and Jane. She says, I'm in Miami. Hey, P. Hope you're well. Is this still your number? He says, no, but then he says, I'm just kidding. She says, do you have any plans on Valentine's Day? Hold on. She says, I'm excited and looking forward to seeing Paul. Were you excited and looking forward to seeing Paul? She says, yes. Paul was warm. She says, yes. After Cassie's suit, you saw changes in Diddy. Now, guys, this is going to move kind of fast, but in my head, I'm thinking, of course, Diddy changed, but you can tell me what you think. After Cassie's suit, you saw changes in Diddy. She says, yes. What were they? Not as egotistical and cold. He was more loving, no longer disappeared for days, more apologetic, listened better, spent more time at home, had more alone time. He doesn't want you to sue him. Of course, his demeanor is going to change. I don't know why the defense asked this. You appreciated it. She says, yes. Less people around. She says, yes. So you talk more. She says, yes. I put, this is absolutely not great for the defense. Why wouldn't Diddy change? Okay. He started saying, I'm single and polyamorous at this time. She says, yes. Did that hurt you? She says, yes. When you got back together in 2024, you had more power. She says, yes. You were staying with him at 2 stars. She says, yes. Was KK there? She says, no. She came after the CNN video. What happened? She said, after I watched it, I was sick to my stomach. At this point, Diddy had not hit you. She says, no. Friends wanted you to leave him alone. She says, yes. Did you want to be there for him? She says, yes. Discussed throughout testimony that he was complicated. She says, yes, he was. Did you feel for Cassie? She says, yes. And this is where Tinney starts getting tricky. She says, I know it must have been hard for you to witness domestic violence. That objection came so quick. The defense has consistently said that they are going to argue that this was just a domestic violence incident. So for her to say that and expect that Jane would respond yes in front of the jury, Comey was mad. Comey was pissed. That was a real rough. She put some bass in that objection. Comey was.
I don't want to say fuck that bitch because that was some bullshit that she did, but I can't say that. But I have to say the politically correct thing, so I'm going to work on trying to help her. I'm past my anger.
That is what Comey was on. Comey doesn't like that the defense is using the words redirect and using the words domestic violence. She was pissed. She was definitely pissed. The objection was sustained. And then they called a sidebar because she tried to reiterate the same question. So she said, you wrote this. I take accountability that I allowed all the hotel nights. She says, yes. So she sent a message that said, I'm sorry, I want more time with you. We did too much. So our relationship was bound to end like this. I'm not going to belittle myself over Bear or my friend. So this is her and Diddy fighting over the fact that Bear dude was that gave her $9,000, and the friend being the rapper that we don't know who the rapper is. She says, I'm dealing with this with Diddy responds, I'm dealing with this with my mother and all this shit in the news. I'm so sorry I didn't take you on trips, but I want to make this right. I love you, baby. This is some cat daddy shit to keep himself from getting another lawsuit from somebody who knows him, like Jane, Gina, Cassie. All of these women probably had the ability to sue him. So he's tying up these loose ends, but he's definitely love bombing the hell out of her. I would take you on more trips. You were bored when you had sex with her on the trip. So much so that she felt so bad that you were bored with her vagina that she called one of the BBDs her damn self. Okay. She responds, I wish you all the best with the kids, but I don't want to hear anything about fake trips. You and KK would have talked yourselves into paranoia before ever allowing me and you to travel the world. So they said at this point, you had gone 4 to 5 months without hotel nights. Diddy says he doesn't want any problems and he will continue paying for the house. She says yes. So this is where I start to see that they are upset with us because they have these earphones on. So I had to write down quickly. Diddy said, I don't care about them. I care about you. She responds, why couldn't we have had balanced hotel nights with private travel? Did the other girls just ask for more? I want to know because it bothers me. And then there's another voice note. And it says going back and forth about Jesse and Gina. Now, y'all can tell me if she says, I don't even have anything post-worthy from this relationship. I got hotel nights and other girls got jets and trips around the world. I don't think that's effective for the defense. I don't think that that's going to play well for the prosecution in the sense that they're already trying to make her look like a gold digger, like she wanted to be there. That won't play well for them. Like, not at all. It didn't even play well to me when she said, I don't even have anything post-worthy from this. So you were going through this sexual manipulation and your concern is you can't post. Yeah, I don't think that that's going to play well for her with the jury. I'm dealing with a lot of disappointment. I'm in my 30s and don't have time to waste. So then Diddy, I guess, stops caring, or maybe he's high at this point. He says, I could have effed more if I had taken you on more trips. The bear shit should have let me know what it really is. So I did a side note. I said, my issue. Once you are removed from him, you are not asking for additional one-on-one time. You are asking for private jets. She did not request solo time because solo time could be spent quietly at home. So she did say that her love language is gifts and stuff like that. And she did like light up. So nobody's perfect. Clearly she is in that world where you date, you know, for money, and that's fine. I don't have any problems with that. I just, in the terms of this case, I think that the defense was hitting her like with 1-2 punches. She said, so you finally got the princess treatment you always wanted? And she says, yes. Told Diddy you kind of miss Paul. She said, I had taken X, but I did slightly miss Paul. Diddy was happy you initiated that hotel night. She says, yes. Did you want to do the hotel night? She says, no, it felt like a performance. Diddy splashed water on her and told her to wake up. She says, yes, that happened. But that was a new memory. So that was very interesting, guys. We got into new memory. So we know that Jane is in therapy. And when you're in therapy, like I told you, you can hear her saying words like ruminating and new memory and stuff like that. So this is where Tinny decides to get her and start doing rapid fire questions. She says, so you told the government about the Paul situations 4 times before you ever mentioned that he threw water on you. She says, yes. June 1st was the first time you said he started pacing and then splashed you with water. And then the new memory also said, I fly you out here for this, you fucking bitch. So then I put new memory because we're going to get into that. Let's define new memory. Hold on. What is a new memory? A new memory refers to an experience or piece of, I'll share it with you guys. A new memory refers to an experience or piece of information that is being encoded and stored in the brain for the first time. It's the process of converting a sensory input or event into a lasting memory. This process involves encoding. New memories can include episodic memories, special events and experiences, semantic memories, facts and knowledge, and procedural memories, skills and, let's see. What is a new memory in therapy? In the context of therapy, a new memory typically refers to a memory that is formed or modified through therapeutic interventions, particularly within the framework of memory reconsolidation or reprocessing techniques like EMDR. This can involve creating new associations with a traumatic memory, reinterpreting it, or even altering the emotional intensity associated with it. Well, there you have it. Let me see. So then they go back into the whole dream team where she was Kobe, Diddy was Michael Jordan, and the escort was Shaq. He called Jane a new Hall of Famer. She really hated that. There's a voice note where she says she was giving Carmen Electra and Pam Anderson. And that was because her titties were large. I don't know how else to say it. Last trip was just okay, but she told defense counsel it ended on a positive note. As soon as it's Comey's turn, she asked for a sidebar. They start addressing the inadmissible hearsay. and how the defense had attacked her credibility. This went back and forth for a while. And that's when Shapiro stands up and says, if I might ask, and Comey goes, let me do it again. I'm telling you, Comey was over them. Comey was really handling this. They have a whole team of people. Comey has a team, but Comey was lead, and Comey did not let any of the other people interject. This was Comey against Diddy's team, and she was not having it.
Okay, we're gonna follow this road all the way down. You're gonna take a sharp left, okay, up here past this tree here, okay? Once you get up here, you're gonna take another sharp turn. And over here, this is where you have me fucked up at. Right here in this place.
She was not having it. Like, not even a little bit. Like, not even a little bit. But she lost. She lost. They were unable to include that testimony of Jane saying that she felt like 98% of her time she was working. It was a lot. Comey is the lead attorney. She is also Comey. Let me see. If you guys remember, James Comey was the man who he was the director of the FBI, and he had his own court case against basically Trump a couple years ago. This Comey's her dad. So yeah, very, very, very strong law background. Let me see. But she is so, like, you can't really see anything on her face. So for her to be like showing that she was annoyed. So, okay. They show text message. It says, I know what you want, baby, but I'm not in the mood. Don't want to make you mad. How did he normally respond? She said, in anger. So, okay, sorry. This is where the tide turned, y'all. This is where the tide turned and took a crazy, crazy place. And I'm telling you, Jane did not know how to recover at this point. Jane did not know how to recover at this point. I know what you want, baby, but I'm not in the mood, is what Jane said to Diddy. I don't want to make you mad. Diddy responds, it's okay, it's cool. Then, out of nowhere, she says, can you read the next message? This is a message that Diddy sent to the escort, Paul, after he told you, don't worry, it's cool. The message reads, I'm going to need you to persuade her, reel her in, and tell her you've been holding it in for a week. Comey says, Jane, have you ever seen this message? And she says, no. Y'all, the whole mood shifted of the entire room, the overflow room, the actual courtroom, everything shifted because now we have a woman who is still clearly in something with Diddy, hearing for the first time that after he told her, don't worry, you don't have to have a hotel night, he reaches out to the escort to play her, to reel her in. He's saying okay, but in reality, what he's doing is probably hurtful as hell to her. And she can't really recover from this. At this point, she's mad. And it's gonna get worse once Tinny gets a hold of her. So then we move on to a message from Paul. March 14th, 2023. Thanks again for coming last night, but it was 24 hours with no breaks. So Jane writes this, and then to insult me about the value of a bracelet, telling me to perform based on the value of a bracelet. I'd lost all of its meaning. I resisted because I was sore and tired. In the moment, he didn't even leave me. He didn't even treat me like a human. He treated me like a whore. I'm not an actress or an adult film star. If these things were so disappointing to you, Jane, why did you send love messages? She said he was good at love bombing, sexploitation, love bombing, and it becomes confusion. To clarify about the condom use, a condom was only used once with Dawn. She says yes. Were you with Sean when you reached out to Cabral and Dawn? She says yes. Did you enjoy the sex? She says with her lover. Did you ever orgasm? She says no. That was a big one. When did Diddy threaten to release your sex tape? She says December of 2023. Did you believe him? She says yes. Then there's another note. It was unfair that I was the one who had to hold all the pressure. All of those nights with all of those men were on me. Why did you bring up hotel nights when you brought up other women? She said, I felt like, why do I have to be degraded? Why am I the one not allowed to live, not allowed to have, I don't know what the hell I was writing here. Why do they not have to take on multiple men? Diddy was angry. Diddy was angry because she was high when she said it could be an all-star event. She had hoped that he would forget, but he followed up. This started a fight. That's when she sent him a tampon picture to prove she was bleeding. He was angry because she wanted to sit this one out, even though she was on her period. This is another message to him. You are lying and playing with me for money. You keep saying F me. I'm not a sex robot. So she said, when did you start your dress and swimsuit line? She said 2022 and 2023. When did they become profitable? Is it enough to pay your rent? She says no. When did you voice that you wanted to stop hotel nights? She says 2021. When did you become more vocal about it? She says 2023. When did he start paying you? She says 2023. Now, this is why I like Comey. She's to the book and it tells a story. She's not like some of her other colleagues that kind of like go off on tangents. She literally tells you a story. This is everything you need to hear. When did you say you didn't want to do hotel nights? 2021. When did you start become more vocal about it? 2023. And when did he start paying your rent? 2023. That's A plus B equals C. She's very good at this. And it's quick and it tells the story. She said she didn't want to do it. 2023, she really says I don't want to do it. And then he starts paying the rent. Why did you go along with it? She said I had to maintain. How often did he bring up your rent during hotel nights? She says often. We go to the sobriety party. She says, I don't want to be effed and mistreated. I'm not an animal or adult star. It's been 3 years of having to F strange men, and I'm tired. She says, sex is sacred to me. I can't be effing strangers. I need a break. She said, did Sean push you to do more after the sobriety party? She says, yes. What happened between escort 2 and 3 at the sobriety party? She says, I threw up. What did Diddy do? He told me to get cleaned up and get ready for the next dick. She says, remember when Miss Garagos asked you why you didn't? It's about to get messy again. It's about to get messy again. Remember, this is Comey asking Jane. Remember when Miss Garagos asked you why you didn't ask to stop the hotel nights, but she interrupted you? Jane responds, I was going to say I had asked multiple times. Was Diddy loving to you the night him and Antoine were at your home? She says, no, he was evil. You are not going to, he says, Diddy told her, you're not going to ruin my night. Go suck some dick. Go F him or something. Do something. Did you have your own attorney? She says, yes. Did you, wait. Oh, okay, we're coming to it. It keeps getting messier and messier. You had your own attorney? She says, yes. Did you get your own attorney in June of 2024? She says, yes. When Antoine came to your home, you already had your makeup on? She says, yes. I had to cover up my bruising from where Diddy had hit me. Hold on. Hold on. Sorry, we moved on. Sorry. We moved on now to, we're back to Tinny. We're back to Tinny, sorry. So Tinny is saying, were you being loving to Diddy when you called him a pedo? She says no. When you called him a monster? She says no. You are an active woman. You lift heavy weights. She says yes. Do you consider yourself strong? She says yes, but women's power doesn't override a man's. She says, when you assaulted Diddy and threw glasses at him, did he hit you right away? She says no. But just a month before that incident, you had seen Combs beat Cassie. She says yes. Now, that was interesting to me. You guys can put it in the chat. For me, it's a little strange that you don't get physical with him until you know he had put his hands on Cassie. That doesn't make sense to me. She says, do you remember being asked if you had ever reached out to Cabral, and then it's objections? So she tries to change it again, and it's 2 more additional objections. So basically, Comey says you need a qualifier there, because my question was if you had ever reached out to Cabral in a sexual way. And I was like, Tinny is tricky. Tinny is definitely tricky, because that is a very broad question. And they're trying to trip her up so that she perjures herself on the stand. So I'm telling you, Comey is the one in terms of the prosecution. Comey is really, really good. She does not mince her words. And that threw Tinny off. She didn't know, she couldn't recover quickly. I said it completely effed up Timmy, who was trying to get her to perjure herself. So she moves on and says, you were just asked if you would give up everything Diddy gave you if it meant that you never did hotel nights. She says yes. So then Tinny looks at her with a smile and says, so you would give up your home? The courtroom goes quiet. Jane starts to stumble. She says, I don't, that's a hard one. That was a good question, y'all. That was a good question. So now we're getting into her finances. She says, how much do you make for your OnlyFans? And she kind of stumbles. She goes, this is over $10,000 a month. She says, yes. And in 3 years, Diddy has sent you over 100. Let me reel this back in really quick to set the scene. This question about her home has really thrown Jane off. Like literally thrown Jane off. Now these rapid fire questions in conjunction with that question about, or that statement that Diddy had reached out to the escort to basically trick Jane. He was telling Jane, you don't have to do anything, but he really meant that she was, and the escort was going to make it happen. This is all throwing Jane off. This, like, her, like, that timid nature, the hushed tone, she's back to that. And I would not be surprised if Diddy was advising Tinny on certain things that he knew could get her, because I do feel like there's a very coercive nature to Diddy. So she doesn't want to give up her home. Now she's having to tell the world that she makes $10,000 a month from OnlyFans. And she says, in the 3 years that you saw Diddy, he sent you $150,000 in wires. And she said, is that all I'm worth? Is that all I'm worth? She says, I'm only asking you if you wanted more. She says, does he think I deserve more? Now me and all the reporters are looking like she's losing it. She's losing it on the stand. And all the ground that Comey just gained, giving it to Tinny. Although that was a big moment for Comey when she said, you know, he had reached out to the escort to get you to go anyway, Jane had never seen that. So you got Jane's real visceral reaction from hearing that in real time. So I think at this point, she's probably feeling a little betrayed by Comey. Tinny is somebody that she worked with when she was still with Diddy. They are both giving it to her. Nobody's stopping to ask her while she's crying through this if she's okay. What we are witnessing is two very good attorneys going back and forth like a Venus and Serena tennis match. Jane starts losing it. So then she says, because you're not supposed to be talking. Like, does he think that I deserve more? She's very upset. She's crying. She says, well, did Diddy want to call the police when the escort wanted to sell the tape? She says, yes. When you said, I'm hungry, are you saying that he should have known that you wanted to leave the hotel night? She says, yes. And I put more rapid fire questions. She says, there were times that you didn't have to have entertainers. And she looks at her and she says, all of it was shit. Now she's not even answering the question. She's mad and she cannot recover. The judge is now mad at her because you are cursing at the defense attorney for doing their job. I slightly blame the prosecution for throwing that question on her. It was very powerful in the moment, but it did not allow her time to really process that this man that I think she still loves was going behind her back with the escorts to trick her into taking more BBD. Did you remember there were several times when there was no hotel night? She said, thank God. She's over it at this point. She is over it. I said, Tinny is doing rapid fire. Jane should have slowed down her responses to take the edge off. Tinny's questions were like this, and it was a lot of repetitive questions, but it's just done to trap her. It is only done to trap her and make her perjure herself. If Jane had taken a step back, if possible, release some of that emotion, parse her words, she might have gotten through this, but this was hard to watch. I don't think the questioning is moving the jury. She says, so this makes you upset? And Jane says, wouldn't that make you upset? After seeing Sean's messages. The judge again is admonishing her like you need to just answer the questions. I put seeing in black and white for the first time that he was talking to Paul about convincing her to have sex behind her back has really caught her off guard. She could not recover. They finally released Jane. She goes and she hugs Comey and Tinny. And this is what Tinny does as she tries to hug her. Because remember, she was trying to be nice. They had a lot of conversations, and then she cut off contact with all of Diddy's attorneys once she was for the prosecution. So she tries to hug Tinny, and Tinny does this. And then she leaves. And that was the end of Jane's testimony. I was ready for it to end 3 days ago. I don't feel like the testimony should have had I don't feel like the testimony should have been as long as Cassie's testimony. Not for Jane. My theory is Gina was supposed to be more of the big gotcha. And when she backed out, Jane's testimony became more important. But I don't think that it did what it was supposed to do. So yeah, part 1 of this should be out probably about tomorrow. We got some super chats. Kiki, thank you so much for joining the membership. Holly, thank you for the super sticker. Chris, thank you for the super sticker. Just me, or is Kanye posting that jail phone call with Diddy and March looking extra sus after this? Well, somebody had to inform Diddy exactly what Jane was doing with the rapper and his wife girlfriend that's in the lifestyle. So I don't know how that all came out, but it came out. Teresa says Diddy just want a man, period. Thank you, Corinne. Worry about yourself. Thank you. The Pitbull mom, thank you so much. That was very generous. Holly, thank you so much. Hera, thank you, Hera. And again, Holly. Ebony, thank you for joining the membership. Dorian says, hope you get a big break from this mess when you get home, Mims. I know from experience that NYC by itself is a lot add in this trial, and I know you're emotionally exhausted. I am exhausted. I'm not even gonna lie. I might be getting a flight out for early Saturday morning. There's no direct flights because my friend is from a small town. So her funeral is this Saturday. I don't know if I'm gonna go. I'm gonna talk to the mom and see if they can live stream it for me. If not, I'll be flying out right after I get done with the live on Friday. There's just no direct flights. So it's either fly out to a bigger city and then drive about 3 to 4 hours to get there, or take an 8 or 9 hour flight and get there at the butt crack of dawn. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to attend the funeral, but I think I will take a little bit of a break after this trial is over. Humiliation controls, compassion help heals. Thanks, KXNYX. Monique, thank you for the super sticker. Let's bet Combs will stop paying her attorney fees and rent after today. Well, she makes, I didn't put it in here, but she's making like on a good month about $50,000 from OnlyFans, so she can pay her rent now. She did say somewhere in the arguing that she's in debt because of Diddy, though. Latasha finally got back. Hope you got my super chat. Thank you so much, Latasha. Dorian, thank you so much for joining the membership. And Bonita, thank you for being a member. Yeah, I'm probably gonna take just like at least a few days off after this. Like, but I'm happy to be in New York. Now that I have an apartment, I'm gonna finish cleaning up tonight, and depending on how late I go to bed, I might try to go early to the courtroom. She sounds hilarious. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I gotta run. See you guys. Thank you guys for being here. I'll definitely be back tomorrow. What's going on tomorrow? Real quick. They have two. I think I wrote it down. Somebody named Sangard, a summary witness, Jonathan Perez. Those are the people on the stand tomorrow. I'm waiting to hear that James Cruz is flipped, because I don't think KK is flipped. I think KK is going to end up being a co-defendant. I don't think she's flipping. I don't know if they believe the case is strong enough for her to flip. So anyway, I will definitely see you guys tomorrow. I need to finish cleaning up this space. I'm weird like that. I'm sure the host cleaned up, but I'm doing it again. Have a good one.